Hi everyone, how are you today? Our story name is the Tale of the Phantom Banyan, the final chapter of Blood and Darkness. Let's start. When Arko was sinking deep into the earth, he thought this was finally the end. But the hunger of Nishithpur's cursed banyan tree was not to be satiated so easily. Beneath the ground, the darkness was absolute and the air was suffocating, thick with the stench of rotting corpses. Arko felt the slender roots of the banyan tree, sharp as arrows, piercing his skin and burrowing deep into his flesh. They spread throughout his body like an invasive network of veins. He wanted to scream, but his mouth was already choked with tangled roots and packed earth. The tree didn't kill him instantly. Instead, it chewed and sucked away the last pulses of life from every drop of his blood, from every single cell. In a state of ultimate, inhuman agony, Arko's soul thrashed violently inside his body, but there was no escape. While still alive, he became a part of that very tree. The quest for the missing brother. 3 years after Arko's disappearance, Sumit set foot in the village of Nishithpur. Sumit was Arko's younger brother. He was driven by an unstoppable obsession to uncover the mystery behind his brother's disappearance and find his final traces. Sumit knew Arko had come to this village, but the villagers refused to speak out of sheer terror. They would only say in broken, trembling voices, "Don't look for him anymore, son. He is now a part of Nishithpur itself." Sumit listened to no one. Armed with a sharp axe and a flashlight, he headed straight beneath that ancient banyan tree in the dead of night. It was 1:00 a.m. The surroundings were as deathly cold as a crematorium. Standing before the massive trunk of the banyan, Sumit screamed, "Where is my brother? What have you monsters done to him?" There was no answer. Only the leaves of the banyan began to rustle violently as if someone was standing in the dark, laughing hysterically. Sumit's rage reached a boiling point. Raising his axe, he swung it with all his might onto a massive root of the tree. Thwack! As soon as the root was severed, Sumit stumbled back in sheer horror. No sap or resin oozed from the tree. Instead, fresh, hot, crimson blood spurted violently from the cut. The blood splashed onto Sumit's face and clothes. It smelled exactly like human blood. Stunned, Sumit shone his flashlight onto the severed wound. His heart skipped a beat. Tumbling out with the blood from the hollow center of the cut root was jet-black human hair, and just beneath it, a familiar, skin-peeling human finger, its pinky finger still gleaming with Arko's silver ring. Sumit burst into tears, crying out, "Arko Baya, are you here?" Absorbed by the curse. Right then, the air grew heavy. The branches of the banyan began to thrash violently. From above, that familiar, inhuman, faceless silhouette slowly descended. Its blood-red eyes locked onto Sumit. But this time the silhouette was not alone. Ripping through the bark of the banyan's trunk, another figure began to emerge. As Sumit shone his flashlight onto the new figure, the words caught in his throat. His body went completely numb with terror. The entity that had half emerged from the tree was none other than Arko, but his once familiar face was no longer human. His skin was gray and rigid like tree bark, his eyes were sunken deep into their sockets and black blood trickled from them. Arko's dead, distorted face suddenly stretched into a beastly grin. His voice was shattered, sounding as if thousands of dead souls were whispering in unison. Arko extended his hand towards Sumit and whispered, "Baya, you've come. I was feeling so lonely. Come join me inside the tree. There is such peace here." Sumit dropped his axe and turned to run. But by then, hundreds of banyan roots burst through the soil like arrows, tightly wrapping around both of his legs. Sumit slammed hard against the ground. He watched as his own brother, now completely transformed into a demon, swung down from a branch, extended a skeletal, elongated hand and choked Sumit's throat. The nails dug deep into the skin of his neck. Sumit looked up at the sky one last time. From behind the clouds, the full moon shone blood red. Arko and the faceless spirit hoisted Sumit's body up together. Suddenly, the trunk of the banyan tree split open down the middle like a massive, yawning maw. From within it emerged thousands of human skeletons and rotting heads, all groaning together in agony. Sumit was thrown alive into the burning darkness of the tree. The trunk snapped shut, sealing itself back to normal. The next morning, when the people of Nishithpur walked past that path, they noticed the banyan tree looked greener and more vibrant than ever before. Abandoned beneath the tree was a single axe, and on the trunk of the banyan a new knot had formed, bearing the exact, agonizing likeness of a human face. The Wrath of Nishithpur. After swallowing Sumit, the village of Nishithpur sank into a deceptive, absolute quiet, but that peace was merely the calm before the storm. The banyan's hunger had tasted human blood so intensely that it was no longer willing to wait for the cover of night. Its roots began to crawl silently beneath the earth like serpents, spreading across the entire village. Within a few days, the villagers noticed bizarre occurrences. First, when they pumped the courtyard tube wells for water, it wasn't water that poured out, but thick, blackish, clotted blood. Then when the farmers went to work in the paddy fields, they found that instead of rice stalks, jet-black human hair and raw fingernails were sprouting from the earth. The entire air of Nishithpur grew heavy with the foul, reeking smoke of a funeral pyre. The villagers realized that doom had arrived at their doorsteps. They decided to pack up and flee. That very night, just as the entire village was preparing to escape with their belongings, the clock struck midnight. Suddenly, a violent earthquake shook all of Nishithpur. But this tremor did not belong to the earth. From the very center of the village, the cursed banyan tree uprooted its centuries-old roots from the ground and rose like a living leviathan. Its colossal branches completely blotted out the moon. There was no escape. Hundreds of aerial roots cascaded from the sky like whips, blockading the borders of the village. People ran in every direction, but the banyan's roots pierced through the soil like arrows, impaling chests and abdomens. The air echoed with the sickening crunch of snapping bones and the final groans of hundreds of dying people. The tree dragged every single villager, tossing them into the burning darkness of its open, ruptured trunk. Amidst this festival of blood, two figures could be seen, Arko and Sumit. Their bodies were now completely encased in wooden bark, their eyes glowing like burning embers. Laughing like demons, they dragged their own familiar neighbors and shoved them into the maw of the tree. Sumit screamed in his cracked, wooden voice. "No one will be spared. Everyone will dissolve into the blood of this tree." Epilogue: The Fields of Ash. In just 1 hour, the entire village of Nishithpur was turned into a massive graveyard. Not a single living soul remained. The next morning, when the people of the neighboring village looked toward Nishithpur, they saw no village, no houses. For miles and miles, there was nothing but a desolate field of scorching ash. And standing right in the center of that field was a monstrous jet-black banyan tree. The leaves of the tree were no longer green. They had turned a vivid, brilliant crimson, matching the color of fresh human organs. Even today, if anyone accidentally steps into the abandoned borders of Nishithpur, they can see hundreds of human faces etched into the trunk of that massive banyan. Even when the air is completely still, the leaves of the tree shudder violently. And if you listen closely from afar, it sounds as if thousands of human voices are whispering together in a trembling chant. "You've come a little closer.